forgotten what freedom was like. Puzzle pieces on the floor, they don't fit in anymore. I'm changing, I'm changing. When they ask you who I am, what I've done and where I've been, there's one thing I want you to say. Tell 'em I'm brave, see it on my face. I am bigger than anything coming my way. It's a new day, now I'm not afraid. So if anyone asks you how I overcame
actually vaporizing alcohol now. What they do is they use a pump. When the top pops off, the alcohol inside turns into a cloud of vapor, and the kids are inhaling it.
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Marshall, co-founder and executive director of This Is My Brave, and I'm so happy to have you here with us for This Is My Brave 2020 Stories from Home. First and foremost, we must thank our 2020 national sponsors. This event would not have been possible without them. So thank you, Alkermes, Allergan, Janssen, Synovian, Greenbrook TMS, and MeUndies. We are so grateful for your support. According to a study by the Kaiser Family Foundation, mental health issues have increased dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic. Average weekly data from June 2020 shows that 36.5%, over a third of adults in the U.S. reported symptoms of anxiety and depressive disorder, up from 11% in 2019. Now, more than ever, we must be talking about our mental health. We need to be listening and looking out for our friends and family. We can get through this together. Our hope at This Is My Brave is that by hearing our stories, you'll be inspired in knowing that there is hope in recovery. These brave individuals you're about to meet have been patiently waiting their turn at the microphone since the beginning of 2020. They were supposed to have been on stages and theaters across the U.S. this spring, but the COVID-19 pandemic had other plans. It's finally their turn to bring their stories of resilience and hope straight into your living room, because we know that their stories have the power to encourage those who are still struggling to not give up. It gets better. There is help out there. By opening up the conversation about mental health through storytelling, we're breaking down those unfair societal pressures that tell us perfection is the goal. That is a lie, because it is okay to not be okay sometimes. It's by sharing our stories, we normalize the conversation that our brains get sick too sometimes. And we need to be there for each other by having these real, honest conversations about how we're doing. If I've learned one thing in the past 7 years of doing this work, it's that when one person has the courage to be brave and share their story, it encourages others to do the same. I like to say, brave multiplies brave, which is why I'm so grateful that you're here with us today. This Is My Brave's vision is to get to a place where one day we no longer have to call it brave for talking openly about mental health issues. We'll simply call it talking. So please help me welcome to the virtual stage the co-producers of This Is My Brave St. Louis, Katie Grana, Heather Clayfish, Lauren Schweiss, and Isaac Sandage.
Welcome to This Is My Brave Stories from Home. My name is Katie Grana, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us to witness St. Louis, Missouri shine a light on mental health issues to end stigma. I will be joined in these opening remarks by my co-producers, Heather Clayfish and Isaac Sandage. First and foremost, we'd like to take a moment to thank our local sponsors who made this show possible: the Kirkwood Theater Guild, Change Incorporated, and Addiction is Real. We'd also like to give a special thank you to our local advertisers and community partners who have supported our show and our storytellers locally in the community, despite the difficulties of this year. Lou Realty Group, the Independent Center, Botanical Tea Room, Shift Films, and JJ Twiggs Southampton. Thank you so much for believing in our mission. This Is My Brave is a very social organization. So while you might not be able to take photos and videos of these virtual shows, we invite you to let your friends and family members know that you're watching. Tag us on a social post on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and share the link to this live stream here on YouTube. Comment along with us in the comment section and shout out our storytellers along the way. Tag us at This Is My Brave and use our hashtag Storytelling Saves Lives.
Since This Is My Brave is a storytelling organization, I thought it would make sense to tell you the story of how I learned about This Is My Brave and my reason for getting involved. My name is Heather Clayfish, and this is my brave. In June of 2018, I received the worst news a parent could ever hear. Your child has died. In my case, my son Jason died by suicide. The shock, grief, and guilt ate away at me as I tried to come to terms with what was happening. There were days when I felt like I was on autopilot, just going through the motions of survival. Other days, I would roar and scream in frustration about not being able to see any warning signs in Jason before he took his life. Jason suffered from depression and bipolar, and honestly, only a small handful of people knew about his illness. He was a master at disguising how much pain he was really in. My guilt over this became overwhelming. However, through all of the grief I was experiencing, there came a small glimmer of hope. I had connected with several of Jason's friends, and I was determined to hear and listen to as many memories of Jason as possible. About the same time, and after seeing an incredible therapist, I knew I had to become an advocate for suicide prevention. One friend in particular shared my vision, Katie Grana. Katie was one of Jason's best friends. She was there for Jason at his best and his worst times. Now she was a part of my life as well. We shared our grief and we shared happy memories of Jason. She came to me one day telling me how she had found an organization called This Is My Brave. We went to see a live show together, and instantaneously, our lives were transformed. We were both so taken with the stories we heard, and we were committed to bring a show to St. Louis. I like to think that Jason would be loving this platform to share stories of such strong and amazing individuals. You see, Jason was incredibly talented in all aspects of the performing arts. His passion for writing and his love of the stage make this experience for me quite touching. I know he's here cheering us on and rooting for our battles to be won. I believe we can win this battle against mental illness, one story at a time. We're about to take you on a journey. You will laugh and you will cry. You will be enlightened, inspired, and our hope is that you will leave with a transformed perception of the invisibleness of mental illness, thanks to the bravery of our cast members. Because this is the reality. 1 in 5 Americans live with a diagnosable mental health disorder. But because we don't talk enough about mental illness, often people suffer in silence.
This changes today, right here. We're shining a light on mental illness to show the world that we are your friends, colleagues, neighbors, and community members. We hope that through our storytelling, you will better understand mental illness and will be able to be supportive to those in your life who may experience it. You may be inspired to share your own story. It's when we share our stories that we open up the conversation, and storytelling saves lives. So, let's get started.
Hello, my name is Leslie White, and I am a member of the patient engagement team at Alkermes. Alkermes is a fully integrated global biopharmaceutical company that applies its scientific expertise, proprietary technologies, and global resources to the development of medicines in both neuroscience and oncology. And as part of our efforts to develop these new medicines, we seek input from people with lived experience in the disease states that we focus on. My colleagues and I are united in our purpose to pursue great science with deep compassion and to help address society's greatest health challenges, including serious mental illness, addiction, and cancer. And we strive to make a real impact for patients, their families, and the community. For more information about Alkermes, please visit www.alkermes.com. Thank you and enjoy the program.
Hello, my name is Merv Feick, and I am part of the St. Louis 2020 This Is My Brave show. I am performing my essay, The Thief in My House. I hope you enjoy. Let me first start by saying that I have had an absolutely amazing year, in spite of everything going on in my life and the world. I am overall happier now than I can remember being in a very long time. Even now, in a pandemic, as I record myself to be watched by strangers, I'm excited and invigorated to be doing something new that also terrifies me a little, something I would never have done before. I have actively set out to make my life great by making these kinds of choices. From grand adventures and tiny quarantine experiences, to healthy living, dropping 50 pounds in 4-pound sizes, going from a sedentary life to finishing my first half marathon virtually in quarantine. From conquering fears like doing this and skydiving recently in spite of a semi-crippling fear of heights, I'm choosing to be my best self, the person I've always wanted to be. It has taken a lot of pain and suffering to bring me to a place where I could recognize the importance, the necessity of choosing to live no matter how hard. Every one of my fellow castmates has known this pain, has stared into that great chasm. Many of you watching will recognize echoes of what we say in yourself or people you know. We are honored to be with you, to share with you our voices. I believe that in seeing us here, all of us beautiful souls tested in tempests, knowing that we have braved these storms, even as they may continue to rage around us, you will come to understand that there is hope in life, in living. I am so grateful to This Is My Brave for giving us a platform to share our messages, even if life has changed the format, which it's wont to do even at the best of times. Through Kismet, I found this organization 2.5 hours before the St. Louis auditions had closed. as I was looking for ways to make my day great back in mid-January. This is the piece that I hastily wrote and that they graciously let me stay for the last hour till the end to reading. This is my story of why I have to have an amazing year, why being my best self is no longer an option. This is my story of hope from even the darkest of places. This is my brave. Depression is life's greatest thief. It takes pieces of you, sometimes small, sometimes system critical, but always leaving emptiness where there used to be something. An emptiness that feels like it could go on forever, like the inky darkness of the pit that you choose to make your home. I look back on a lifetime marked by episodes, times when depression crept into my house and stole away weeks, months, grades, jobs, people. I would not emerge stronger. I would emerge smaller, less of me than there had been. 6 years ago, depression went on such an enthusiastic crime spree that I wanted there to be nothing left of myself. Depression wasn't doing the job fast enough, so I fashioned all of my flaws and all of my failures into a weapon I could use to flay away the scraps that weren't already gone, to make it easier to carry off. I wanted the pain because it was better than the emptiness, because I felt I deserved it. Except when I didn't want that pain, then I would do everything I could to feel nothing, turn myself into nothing so that depression couldn't find me to take away anything else. Then life gave me something depression couldn't touch, a daughter. My wife then of 5 years, who watched helplessly, who wanted to help but couldn't, was pregnant. Suddenly there were new parts of me, and for a while I could live on this. But what of the old me, the parts that weren't father? What was there left? I was the empty spaces. I was the echo of depression's footsteps as it slunk away with something else. I tried. I kept trying to find me, to recover those missing parts, but I had no map and none of the right tools. And then a few days before the end of last year, just several weeks before this audition, depression pulled its greatest heist. I don't want to be married anymore. It had been too hard on my wife to live on the outside for too long, to not be able to find all those parts of me that had been taken away. We had grown too far apart. I had been blind to what my depression had taken from her, the pain and emptiness that had left in those places in her, the pain and emptiness that I had inflicted, sometimes intentionally, sometimes thoughtlessly, reflections of all that was left of me. Depression has taken my life from me, slowly, piece by piece, and that is too much to tolerate. I have taken a stand. I'm not going to let depression take away anything from me again. I found my map. I have forged the right tools. I am reclaiming myself, even remaking myself into something better. Too much has been lost for my wife and I to stay married, though we will remain great parents together and work on being friends again in time. But what I want most is for my daughter to know me, for the complete me, for the beautiful and amazing person I used to be and could be before the best parts of me were hidden away. And I will teach her to be vigilant, to know when depression slips in, how to safeguard herself so that she never loses anything to life's greatest thief. My name is Merv Feick, and this is my brave.
Baby, you pulled me from pales in comparison to what it used to mean to me. But I can't complain, I got exactly what I asked for. I just had to swim upstream. And inside and wake up right back where you left me. And now oceans are just rivers. I keep on waiting, and there you were all along, going your own pace along the periphery, waiting through the silence of lots of friends whose glory worries your identity. And I move slow, I move slow, I end up where I'm going though. I move slow, and if I could, I'd go a little bit faster, but steps that I've taken are bigger than last year's. I have no intention of taking sequence to the changes I made in this way, but I'm happier. And I move slow, I move slow, I end up where I'm going though. I move slow, I end up where I'm going though. There you were all along, making your way along the periphery.
Hi there, everyone. I'm part of the St. Louis 2020 show. I'll be sharing an essay I wrote about the 4.5 strategies for dealing with depression. My name is Belinda Brin, and this is my brave. Most of us have inherited something from previous generations. Could be curly hair, could be the ability to curl your tongue. But in my family, depression has been one of the traits passed along. Not long ago, I came out and shared my depression story with someone I've known for over 20 years. After expressing how surprised she was and that, of course, I'm the last person she would have ever thought struggled with depression, she asked a question. What does it feel like? Whoa, no one had ever asked me that. But answering the question was easy. Over and over, I've drawn a picture of a tiny person at the bottom of a very deep, very dark pit. We're talking Edgar Allan Poe kind of pit. And at the bottom, that tiny person, that's me. And I will never get out of that pit of hopeless black despair. So how have I made it through 65 years? I've developed 4.5 coping mechanisms that have served me well throughout my lifetime. And while I'm not suggesting that they will work for everyone, they may give you a new strategy you haven't considered and offer an escape from your own very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit. Number 1, don't move. Yeah, you heard me right. Stay in one place without changing location. I can and have played solitaire for 8 hours or longer on the computer, not moving. My husband would say goodbye in the morning as he left for work, only to come home in the evening and ask, have you been there all day? I can binge through a streaming series with the best of them, not stopping until I've seen all 8, 9, or a dozen episodes of the current season. The Crown, Killing Eve, Mrs. Maisel, 229 episodes of Heartland, any baking, pimple popper, cook's tour, travel with my father, home improvement, housewives throwing tantrums series will do the trick. The electronic trance that results seems to give my brain a break and bores me to the point that I must do something, anything. I am literally bored to action. Be very, very busy. My depression first appeared in junior high. I quickly learned that when I was busy, I wouldn't stop to think so much about how hopeless and panicked I felt. In high school, I became the overachiever, leader of every group I joined. It was hard to stay immobilized when there were looming deadlines or performances or publishing dates. Throughout my life, I've always been involved with groups, following my interests and putting everything into my work. Yes, it's exhausting sometimes, which is a different problem, but it seems to keep the monsters in the pit at bay. Number 3, be creative. If you've built up credibility with all your outstanding performance and over-delivering on all your promises, your friends and coworkers are much more understanding when the time comes and you can't deliver or move or even function beyond laying in bed in a very dark room. And here's where the creativity comes in. You have to come up with lots of excuses, a reason why you can't go, can't deliver, can't even consider settling 1 foot outside your door. I also had migraine headaches when I was younger, and that was always convenient. Nowadays, the many physical ailments that come with older age provide a great cover. Physical excuses are usually my go-to, although with close friends, I'm simply honest and say, I can't today. Also, being creative in the more traditional sense with paper, ink, markers, fabric, you get the idea, gives my mind a reason to get out of its deep, dark grooves and lose itself in the doing. It's been described as a state of flow, losing yourself in something you love. I've discovered I don't even have to love it. I only need to feel challenged by the task and lose myself in solving the creative problem before me to feel its properties. Number 4, laugh a lot. This may seem counterintuitive. How can you laugh when you're in a very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit? And why in the world would you? I've discovered that laughter has a magical quality. The author Annie Lamott describes laughter as carbonated holiness. It reminds me of the scene in Mary Poppins, the original Julie Andrews version, not when she came back as Emily Blunt, where Mary and the kids are visiting her Uncle Albert. They're floating near the ceiling, enjoying tea, powered by their giggles. For me, laughter can help lift me out of the very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit, like nothing else. 7 years ago, my husband made me a bet. If I would stop drinking for 6 months, I could get a dog. The drinking thing often accompanies depression and is another story for another time. I'd never had a dog and I wanted one desperately. Well, I made good on my bet and so did he. My dog Lucy has been one of the best depression treatments I've ever discovered. Her goofy sense of humor, silly puppy expressions, never-ending sound effects, and deep unconditional love has provided me with a reason to laugh a lot. And to not wait so long to address the very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit. I mean, how long can a dog wait before you have to take them outside? So that's 4. Don't move. Be very, very busy. Be creative and laugh a lot. And there's a number 4.5. Get old. Age has been a gift, providing the perspective that wasn't available to me in my 20s, 30s, or even 40s. I now have experiences that provide a cushion for me in my very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit. What may have lasted months now only lasts weeks or even days. My resilience has improved, as has my patience with myself. I know it takes me a while to bounce back. I know that major things will first paralyze and then sidetrack me for a while. And if I know, I can plan, or at the very least prepare for what's coming. The very deep, very dark Edgar Allan Poe type pit may not be nearly as deep or dark as it once was.
I've had depression and anxiety ever since I was a kid. I tried a couple of antidepressants, but they caused a lot of side effects, and the benefits never really lasted. I was so frustrated by my lack of progress in talk therapy, things just never seemed to click. By 23, I'd already given up on the idea that I could be happy. I was slowed down, isolating, constantly irritable. Nothing ever got me excited. Most days, I was just waiting for the day to be over. Then I tried Greenbrook TMS therapy. By the second week of treatment, I wasn't constantly criticizing myself. My friends said I was more present, and I felt like it. For the first time in a long while, I wanted to do more than just sleep. I started thinking about ways to even add to my life. If medication and talk therapy haven't helped you feel as good as you want to feel, try TMS. I don't remember a time where I felt this good this long.
Have you ever looked into the mirror and didn't know what you would see? Staring back at you is just a reflection, but that reflection has no idea who it is. Each day there's hope for a different result, but all you see is a stranger, a dark passenger who haunts and develops a shadow that guards you from leaving that tiny familiar space. After many attempts of trying to find out who that reflection is, you fight back with the little energy you have because viewing the reflection day after day drains your very core. You shatter the mirror because you can't stand looking at that reflection anymore, the reflection of uncertainty, the reflection of emptiness. I bet you have seen and found that reflection at some point in your life. I did. I kept looking and staring and searching for a place where I fit in, scratching the glass, trying to get closer, but just ended up further away. There are times when I took the shattered shards of myself and turned it on my own flesh because I didn't know I was worth anything. Why someone so broken should be worth being put back together. Now, at the age of 32, I stand here today to share with you that I am finally able to recognize that reflection in the mirror. Over the years of my life, I have sorted and looked through those shards, picked them up, and slowly, piece by piece, jagged edges and all, and constructed the individual that you see in front of you today. Those shards that I have gotten the strength enough to look at in the eye have been rearranged not in the way that other people want them to be rearranged, but in the way that I want to rearrange them. And each year and each day, I picked up with bloody hands, tears in my eyes, and faced my shards and put them back in a place that was suitable for me now. I stand here today and tell you that it is okay to be broken because with being broken, you can put yourself back together again. By focusing on yourself and knowing what will be best for you is the only way that you can truly look back in the mirror and see the reflection of yourself and all the roads and all the cracks that have led you to put yourself back together. You can look back and see the dark passenger as a reminder of an experience that won't always be there, but that has taught you that you are stronger than you look. But please, don't get me wrong. My mirror is still fractured and I am still searching the ground for pieces that I have left of myself, but in time, I know one day my mosaic of a mirror will be complete. And I encourage you to look into the mirror, whether it be on the ground, whether it be crumbling in your hands. Look into that reflection and figure out, how do you want your pieces to fit? I want to thank This Is My Brave for giving me the outlet to share one shard that I have put back with this following piece. I hope that you can find a piece of yourself on my selection because your shards are a part of me now. The title of my piece is Two Best Friends. I hope you enjoy. Our first date was picked out for us. Room number 5, a quaint place for two with a desk to hold our baggage, a love seat to give the impression that we are all comfortable. Our utensils were pens and paper. Meal was barely edible because, describing how and why we may need each other is always a hard pill to swallow. Our greeting was shaky. I remember this because my hands were rubbed raw by the endless twisting and turning, shamefully looking down at my outfit, a visible exampled lack of care, because what's the point when no one sees you anyway? The announcement of our meeting left me speechless and scared, the unknown of not pausing the darkness that I'm used to, feeling the doubt creeping in that you, a stranger, will make a change on myself. Why should I get more friends when in the end they all run away? I have exhausted my resources, put myself in man-made circles of destructions with tiny holes that provide relief, but not big enough to fix the issues. I told myself, why not? What's the worst that could happen when the worst has already happened? I picked up the bill and signed my last resort, deciding to give this experience a chance, looking curiously at each other, wondering what purpose we have for each other. It's been 3 months. Our relationship has blossomed into something I would have never expected. Who would have thought I would have 2 friends, 2 best friends that are always there? helping me get up in the morning instead of staying in the thick abyss of my comfort, making food a little more desirable, assisting me with seeing more sides of the light than the dark, providing my hand more strength to pull my own self up because my feet have broken enough concrete to finally move. My stitched up smile is healing with small tears as a reminder that I will smile again. You saved me, my two best friends. You gave me stronger ground to stand in the cracks, and even when they are bigger, you support my stumbling and give me encouragement to handle the unsettlement. You both hold my hand and cup my tears when the shadows return and wave the swirl of uncertainty away when my hands are too heavy to lift. The other day, I went to a park and sat on a bench. It was the first time in a long time that I opened myself to feel the sun absorbing the warmth it provides to recharge. My two best friends sat on either side, embracing the day that we thought we would never see. We smiled and said to each other, "Thank you for being here."
Hello, my name is Fedra Ekres. Thank you for listening to my story, and this is my Brave. I will be performing my song, The Time Machine, produced by myself and Vinny Soletto. Thank you.
Yeah, there it goes again. Something wish you could take back. And if you had one chance, would you take it all back to make it right? Hey, would you right the wrongs before you pass the gate? Every moment is your fate, and every stage. And if you could just take it back, gonna make it right. And if you had one more chance, just one more chance to go back, would you take care of business? Would you make it right? Would you apologize? Would you make it right? Could you go back in time and make your choice? And I'm not here to save you, and I'm not here to forgive.
The last night, stepping out of my car, puller pop in hand. I hear a woman scream, "Oh no, he hit my baby." Thinking the worst, I run to the front of my car, assuming I would see blood, but there was nothing. I take off down the street, where I assume I'm going to find a woman standing over her child's lifeless body, screaming. The last night, scared, crying on the couch, I hear the sirens approach. I hear the neighbors upstairs. I hope he gets the help that he needs. As I check out my window, I see the flashes of the lights from the cop cars filling the street quickly, faster and closer and closer. As I run to my front door, I can hear them at the front trying to break down the first door. They're coming to get me. I run to my bed. I pray to my higher power that if I make it through this, that I promise I will never use again. I plead with my mom. I say, please forgive me and please still love me, for I'm so sorry. I ask my boss for forgiveness. I ask my friends for forgiveness. And I say, I promise you, if I make it through this, I will never use again. My head still throbbing from the crying. That night, that last night, was simply the night I thought my life was over. I thought a mother lost her child, that my mother lost her child. But you see, there was no child. My mother didn't lose her child. Nobody lived above me. My mind was playing tricks on me to help me live out my worst fear. That was the night that I used for the last time. I stand in front of you today, sober and humbled human. I'm thankful I'm alive, that I get to share my story with others. And a little fish once told me that if you just keep swimming, you can make it through anything. Tomorrow is not promised. You should share your story. It's very important. My name is Michael Rockafellow, and this is my break.
Hi, world. My name's Jen Nagel, and I'm a person in long-term recovery from opiate use disorder, bipolar 2, ADD, and anxiety. I wanted to start everything off today with a message of hope that you're not alone. If you're watching this, if I know you or I don't know you, I want to let you know that people are suffering just like you right now. The pandemic, on top of everything else, the social unrest, and of course the upcoming political election, it's been tough. I would be a liar if I said that I have not struggled, even though I've been in recovery quite a while. It's okay, because I'm sitting here today to tell my story and to let you know that you aren't alone. That it's okay not to be okay, as they say. Most of my days and weeks and months are fantastic. I have a great life. It's full, and I don't have to wear a mask anymore. I don't have to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. I won't apologize anymore for who I am. Last year, over 74,000 people in the United States died needlessly from overdose. That's my friends. That's my participants. That's family members. That's people I love. And I'm sure you can relate. 1 in 3 households in the United States are affected by addiction. It's important to me because it was my downfall. It was my bottom. But it also was a catalyst to change my life. So no matter what you're going through, whether it be some sort of mental illness diagnosis, maybe something that's not been diagnosed yet, maybe you have a substance use disorder. There's people like you. I'm a people like you. You might have a family member who's suffering right now because society tells them that they're not good enough, that they're broken, that we shouldn't deal with them. Unfortunately, people die because of that. People die by suicide, by overdose. But we can change that. We can change that with just being kind humans. Imagine that. Through all of this stuff that's happening right now, we can just be kind. Because as they say, people are fighting battles that you can't see. But I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. It's okay if you're struggling. And there's hope. As the executive director and founder of the Porchlight Collective here in Southern Illinois, we now serve 3 counties and over 140 people on a weekly basis with safer use supplies and Narcan. We sit, we listen, whether it's just for them to talk about their day or let them know that they're worth something. That is why my life matters now. Because of the people that I serve every single day. My name's Jen, and this is my brave. I'll be reading a poem entitled Once. Once there was a girl, 9 years old and full of life. Blonde pigtails. The only thing on her mind that August were the deafening sounds of the 7-year cicadas and Return of the Jedi. In the summer of '83, she quickly discovered that as the only girl in the neighborhood, her only perceived option was to be Princess Leia. The boys rock, paper, scissored their options. A stormtrooper, Darth Vader, or Luke Skywalker. With her pigtails twisted into the signature earmuffs of the princess, she role-played her way into the hearts of the boys as they saved her over and over and over again until she forgot that she could save herself. Once there was a girl, an overachiever, high school days filled with impossible schedules of band practices and honors classes with too much homework. Summer nights parked in cornfields, backseat fumblings and sticky vinyl seats, her body becoming leverage and commodity, given freely to the suitors most likely to succeed. Yet the only success that she was granted was an inevitable spiral into depression and heartache. Once, there was a girl, 26 and losing identity, her self-worth in a box tucked under her bed. 50 hours a week, she waitressed her way through breakfast specials and refills of coffee. The regular customers were dirty old men. They left 50-cent tips and a smack on her ass every morning leaving the restaurant. Yet now, finding the OxyContin to numb the discomfort, her doctor-dealer pusher parceled out relief. She began the seductive dance. Feelings coming in waves of warm blankets and self-medicated bliss, soothing the physical and emotional pain. Life now controlled by the white pills, the green pills, the blue pills. They exorcise the demon named Dopesick an hour at a time. Her life's mission, now repurposed as survival. Now in crowded, filthy waiting rooms among the walking dead, she waits hours at a time with crawling skin and nauseous patience for the scribbled note of comfort to be placed into her trembling hands. Once there was a girl, now finding hope in church basements, smelling of too strong black coffee, rows of chairs filled with people seeking respite from the madness of addiction. Now, freed from her white, green, blue prison, she found hope as her motivator and stability her friend. Yet now unnumbed, her bipolar brain now finds a life full of wreckage and lost years of dismissed dreams. In this recovery landscape, she longed for acceptance, so she called on familiar codependency and self-sabotaged her way towards her next Luke Skywalker, who was sure to save her over and over and over again. Once there was a girl who on a cold day in December walked into her old apartment to find him crumpled on the floor. Empty bottles of whiskey and 90 green pills missing from his bottle. She bent over to shake him, to wake him, finding cold leather skin and the stench of 4-day-old vomit and shit. The lividity set. His blood, pooled by gravity, sealed a waxy gray mask onto his once rosy cheeks. Now before her, a lifeless contortion from a fall from the bed that they once shared. She looked to a notebook nearby with goodbyes written in bold, desperate handwriting. You are the reason my sons will grow up without a father. Afterwards, the body bag zipped and was carried away, swearing her sanity and recovery left in that bag. Once, there was a girl filled with unresolved grief who lay lifeless, overdosed, ending a months-long delusion of hard-ignored pain, finally able to rest and forget all of the sadness and despair and the echoing words of his final goodbye, which lay etched in her forehead like an A penned in red. 2 weeks in 2 hospitals, with a brain injury now destined to keep her from life as she knew it. Yet, her neuroplastic circuit board brain renewed and rewired her destiny. Time, her friend, her family, her rock, determination, her catalyst. She relearned how to drive, yet not to the cornfields dead with teenage disappointment. Eventually employable, autonomous to once again live on her own in a too small apartment with much too loud neighbors. Thankful for a second chance to live, no, to thrive, and to rewrite her future without skipping a beat. Once there was a girl, now a woman, more Luke than a Leia, herself her own hero, who now has the guts to refuse to be silent, more selfless than selfish, more bullhorn than whisper, more forward than stand still, now able to empower and to empathize with those dejected and thrown away by their fellow humans, now able to speak in a warm, gentle tone. I love you. I see you. You matter. Now, with ruby red hair and the attitude with it, she's a voice for the hushed and a woman with purpose who survived overdose to question society's apathetic indifference. And to those out there listening, alone and afraid, in the grips of mental illness and the pit of addiction, let me say to you this. I once was that girl, 9 years old and full of life. Looking back, I would tell her, you will hurt, you will stumble, you will cry, and you will almost give up. Hang on. Many years later, you won't believe what you'll become. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Willow Morris. I'll answer the first question that many people ask themselves when their spirit lingers as I pass them by in a store. Or they say my pronouns as a question rather than a given. Yes, I am a trans woman. Often when people think of someone who is trans, they think of the bizarre and awkward experiences that get emphasized in various forms of media for the general public's curiosity and amusement. I have had my fair share of those kinds of experiences, yet one that stands out amongst the others is banking sperm. Because that's one of those lovely, awkward things that comes with being trans like me, is that there was a time that amongst my keys and lipstick, I would have a container of my own sperm in my purse as I walk into a clinic so I can have a child after the life-giving, feminizing hormones I'm hoping to take render me practically infertile. What stood out about it wasn't the level of awkwardness or the discomfort I felt about the situation. That was just the state of my existence for most of the first 30 years of my life. What stood out about the experience was a particular nurse and the words she spoke to me. At one of these visits, she looked at me, and in a moment of compassion and insight, absent of the typical amusement or nervousness I see in the eyes of those I would meet, she just simply said, I bet this is terrible for you. It absolutely was. Even the memory of it makes me want to gag and shudder, as do many of the other moments I experienced during my transition, because it goes to the heart of the gender incongruence I feel. As is the case of all my similar experiences, the instances that the media tends to emphasize actually has little to do with who I am, but uses some of the most difficult circumstances of my life as a form of entertainment. Another product of the increased media attention to the trans community is there's this general idea of how trans coming out stories should go, with mildly struggling with the outside world and ultimately triumphing by dramatically coming out and completing the transition process, whatever that is supposed to mean. It's supposed to be a story with the same cadence and pattern of a fairy tale. And indeed, I have felt the pressure to tell my life story following a certain beat, because there's this fear if your life story doesn't conform to the cookie cutter coming out story of trans people, then you won't be believed and seen as a fraud. Don't get me wrong, mine is overall a happy story, one of redemption coming from a life longing to die almost all the time, not being able to hardly function from my bouts of depression that lasted months, hiding in my apartment because I was too anxious and ashamed to be around people. I couldn't hold down a job, I had given up on any life goals, and my life was spent just trying to hang on another day. It took me 27 years to find salvation through dresses and cute eyeshadow, and 3 years later, when a judge declared my legal name to be Willow, it marked a new era for me, where my symptoms didn't chain me down and control my life. I have a beautiful wife, an amazing 2-year-old child, a master's degree in professional counseling of all things, because I was given space to breathe my being into existence. I will be ever grateful to share the beautiful experience of being unshackled from my depression and anxiety, because I'm one of the lucky ones. But that isn't the full story, because my depression and anxiety didn't just go away and leave me unscathed after my transition. I carry within me the darkness of years of torture and hell of my mind's own making. On the surface, many people see how much happier I am, but underneath there is a profound brokenness. I don't always know what to make of my past, of all the senseless pain, growing up trying to be a man I never was, feeling the shame giving up so much of myself away in exchange for other people's acceptance. I enjoy the company of others now, and I long to connect in ways I never was capable of before. Yet I am just now learning how to simply be myself around other people. It's something I was not permitted earlier in my life. My mind races at times trying to read a crowd, out of mere habit, trying desperately not to make anyone uncomfortable, because the anxiety of other people's disapproval is still sometimes unbearable and erodes any sense of worth I see in my existence, and I feel the full brunt of the dark loneliness of not being seen. Even in my brightest moments, fully embracing love for life, I can be shaken right back into the darkness that used to consume me. I love hiking, especially now, and I love scenic views that comes from cliff sides or high up in the mountains. Yet every time I get to somewhere that has a steep drop-off, my heart pounds, and I begin to freeze up. Because for me, cliff sides used to call to my being, with promises of beautiful release from my suffering, with a small payment of my life, which I despised anyway. I don't know how many times I would stand on the brink of oblivion, wanting so desperately to jump, but my body would go catatonic in a desperate bid to follow its prime directive of self-preservation. This was repeated so many times that my body carries the trauma of being constantly threatened with non-existence, and all those memories come rushing back as I do something as simple as hiking a cliffside path. I think this is where many individuals misunderstand the trans experience, and perhaps the experience of many of us who also struggle with mental health. There are well-meaning individuals who glorify what we go through, framing it in terms of courage and strength of being. And I would certainly describe the behavior of my trans siblings in such terms, but what gets missed is the desperation that finally pushed someone like me to come out and be who I am. I risked my marriage, I put my career on hold, I lost half my family connections, and suffered the shame of people who claimed to love me all my life, not even being willing to stand beside me during family photos, because ultimately the pain of not asserting my true self was so unbearable that I was willing to give up just about anything just to find a shred of healing. So if I can communicate anything about my experience, is that for me, recovering from struggles with mental health is not some fairy tale story of light overcoming darkness. It is a story of holding within me the darkness of all the pain that I've carried throughout the years in the same space as the light of healing that transition has brought to my life. So when I go hiking along a cliffside as the sun is going down, and I feel the terror as my body reacts as if jumping to my death is imminent. It takes away nothing from the healing I have found. I may still be in pain, but I'm fully myself, and I'm alive to watch the sunset another day.
Hi, my name is Colleen Duhart, and I am part of the This Is My Brave St. Louis 2020 show. I will be performing my original song, The Bird, which is about my experience with depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And I have my father here to help me out. I'm just a wrought iron view, and you only let me out when it's convenient for you. I'm in this cage, polished up and shiny new, and I've never felt as lonely when I'm with you. You can shoot me down, and you can clip my wings, but just 'cause I can't fly don't mean that I won't see. I've got a song in my heart, and I've got a fire in my soul, but you've taken over. Now I'm under your control. So I'm in this cage, and I'm longing to be free, but I've forgotten how it feels, to be me. You can shoot me down, and you can clip my wings, but just 'cause I can't fly don't mean that I won't sing. Try to keep me quiet, someday I'm gonna soar. One day I'll spread these wings of mine so you can't hold me back anymore. You can shoot me down, and you can clip my wings. Yeah, you can shoot me down, and you can clip my wings, but just 'cause I can't fly don't mean that I won't sing. Ooh, I'm just a I'm Colleen Duhart, and this is My Brave.
Hi, my name is Katie Grana, and I am a program manager with This Is My Brave, and I will be presenting my essay, Dear Trauma. Dear Trauma, thinking about our past 10 years together hurts me. I wouldn't wish you on my worst enemy, but I also know that you're more common than you'd like to admit. I had no idea what you would inflict on me. I had no idea how to handle you or how to navigate your domino effect. The night you appeared in the form of a gun being held up to me in the middle of the street, I didn't know what you were. Shock and adrenaline took over, and I thought, I'm not hurt. He didn't shoot me. I'm okay. But I wasn't. It took me 6 months for your invisible scars to penetrate my skin so you could make a home inside of me until I couldn't house you anymore. And I broke. I physically, mentally, and emotionally broke. I had never felt that kind of broken before. You took away my sense of self, my independence, my security, and my sanity. And in effect, you sabotaged friendships and relationships until I felt I had no one I could count on. I convinced myself that I was a summer Midwestern F4 tornado that wreaked havoc on everyone and everything I encountered. I didn't deserve anything more than drunken nights to numb the pain and days spent in bed where I couldn't do any more damage. Trauma, I barely remember my 20s. I was either too drunk to remember, or I was in such a state of despair and devastation that my mind has blocked it from my memory. I was in survival mode, and I missed out on learning a lot of 20-something lessons that I needed to learn. Instead, I spent my time in therapist offices and doctors' offices trying to tame you. I couldn't understand you myself, so explaining you to others was nearly impossible, which left me feeling as if I was fighting alone. Your ripple on my life was dirty and low. There are things that I never thought I would go through, but losing my sense of self made it incredibly difficult to choose the right door, and I often chose wrong. But trauma, as I stand here, still angry as hell with you, I've chosen to look at you from a different perspective. Had you not touched my life, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I mean that in the most fearful, storm-chasing, rub my victories in your face kind of way. There were so many times that I wanted it to end. There were so many nights that I prayed would be my last. But I fought you. Even on my worst days, I fought you, and I continue to fight you. You see, trauma, you broke me, but I made me who I am today. And as small as I may feel sometimes, I can look back and be so proud of what I have learned and accomplished along the way. If it wasn't for you and the hours on hours that I spent and still spend in therapy, I wouldn't have been able to handle some of the cards that life threw at me. I wouldn't have been able to handle losing Jason to suicide had I not gotten that help beginning 10 years ago. I wouldn't have read all of those self-help books, talked to all of those professionals, confided in all of my friends and family members, and I wouldn't have the toolbox that I now have today to deal with life. Maybe relationships are still hard for me, and trust and esteem are still things I'm trying to regain. But I can do things I never could before. I can listen without judgment. People can feel safe in saying some of the scariest things to me. I can stand side by side with empathy, knowing how lonely that road can be. I can advocate for others in a way that you just can't unless you're a lived expert in your field. I can help lessen the burden when something doesn't make sense to the logical mind. And most importantly, you gave me the skill set, the drive, and the ambition to make a difference, which led me right here to This Is My Brave. Not only do I get to fight you every day in the most positive way, but I also have these incredible people surrounding me that I would have never met if it wasn't for you. I'm not going to close this with a thank you because you do not deserve the praise for my choice to overcome you. I made that choice, and I continue to make it every day. So I will end this with a promise that no matter what happens moving forward, you will not win. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that you do not ever make anyone else hurt or feel as lonely as you made me. You're inevitable in this life in one way or another, but I will always be on the front lines against you. Sincerely, Katie. My name is Katie Grana, and this is my brave.
St. Louis cast was able to shine a light today on a topic we don't talk about enough. I'd like to take a moment to ask our audience to be brave with us and to please post a comment in the chat if you yourself have experienced a mental health disorder or if you love someone who has.
We are all affected by mental illness, and simply being here today was an incredible start in building upon a movement of people who are willing to be more open and supportive to those struggling. We hope that you'll think of this as my brave and that you'll use this experience you've shared with us today as a way to start the conversation and keep it going. That is what it means to live brave.
If you were moved by what you witnessed during the show and you'd like to make a contribution to This Is My Brave to help us to continue this vitally important work, please see the links in the comments section or visit www.thisismybrave.org for information on how to make a donation. Thank you for your support, and thank you for bringing our brave into your home today.
I thought there was no way out. Yeah, I used to be scared of the light, and I was swallowed by doubt. I'd forgotten what freedom was like. Puzzle pieces on the floor, they don't fit in anymore. I'm changing, I'm changing. When they ask you who